Good. Well, great call there as you alerted our viewers to cloud computing. What did you know then that made you think that he might win the Preakness?
Well, for one, he's developed just this big, beautiful horse. If you just went to watch the horses lining up for the Preakness, if you watched them out on the turf infield where they saddled them before the race, cloud computing's the biggest horse. It's like if you were choosing up a softball team and you saw the biggest kid, well, you choose him first. And he's just big and bold, and you just can't get over how gorgeous this horse is. You got a horse crush on this horse. And so, and a lot of what I was explaining a couple weeks ago, actually, he was already growing into himself, but he had injuries as a 2-year-old. And this is the first time since 2006 that a horse has won the Preakness after skipping his entire 2-year-old season. It's extremely rare in the case of the Kentucky Derby. It hasn't happened since the 19th century. But coming into the Preakness, slightly shorter race, maybe more honest because you don't have the big traffic jam with the bigger field. It was a good spot for a horse like Cloud Computing, who had problems getting out of the gate in the Wood Memorial, still finished third, and really had to chase a very hot pace before that in the Gotham Stakes, and finished a stout second. So here he is. Not sure he can go a mile and a half, but it sounds like we may see him in the Belmont Stakes.
All right. What are the chances, though, that if cloud computing had run in the Kentucky Derby, that we'd be talking about a potential Triple Crown going for this particular horse and this whole team on in 3 weeks now at the Belmont?
A little of it has to do with the draw. A little of it has to do with the trip. He had a very good trip in the Preakness under Javier Castellano, who, by the way, was the last rider to win on a horse that didn't race as a 2-year-old in the Preakness. That was his other Preakness win with Bernardini back in 2006. But you have to look at the trip that Always Dreaming had in the Kentucky Derby. That was a dream trip. And cloud computing, let's face it, was helped by Always Dreaming and Classic Empire on Saturday, going out into a speed duel. Connections for both Always Dreaming in the case of trainer Todd Pletcher and Classic Empire in the case of trainer Mark Cassie dispute the thought that the speed duel cost their horses the opportunity to win. Always Dreaming, it might have been more case he just didn't have enough horse in him after only 2 weeks off from the Derby. And in the case of Classic Empire, the thought there was from trainer Mark Cassie that, well, he lost his dueling partner at the front of the race, and so he didn't have an incentive to keep going. I dispute that. So I think in all of those cases, cloud computing had things fall just right for him in the Preakness. Not saying he couldn't have won the Derby, but it did go right for him in this race. And the other question on cloud computing remains, can he get the distance? And when you have horses burning out ahead of you, a horse that maybe can't get the distance is helped. And I think that's what happened in part on Saturday.